We are holding Masachet Sanhedrin. We're in Ayin Tet Amud Aleph. We're about 8, 9 lines from the top. Give me 1 second. And basically, the last time we saw a Mishnah, and the Mishnah had a machloket between the Tanakama, who are the Rabbanon, and Rabbi Shimon regarding a person who plans to kill person A and ends up killing person B instead. According to the Rabbanon, he is Hayav Mita because he wanted to kill an individual. He hit with enough power to kill that individual. He ends up killing somebody else. He is Hayav Mita. Whereas Rabbi Shimon said, no. Rabbi Shimon said that if one had a kavanah to kill person A and ended up killing person B, he cannot be Hayav Mita because his kavanah was not there. And therefore, he would be not going to be Hayav Mita. Okay? Now, based on that, we're holding in the art scroll on 79A-2 on the bottom right paragraph, last paragraph on the page. Bitch Shlemo. Everything makes sense. According to the Rabbanon, who's the Tanakam in the Mishnah, who say that if you kill one, you're planning to kill one person and then killing somebody else, you're Chayav Mitam. Everything makes sense. Why? Dichtiv. There is a pasuk that says, right? If two men were fighting and they accidentally hit a pregnant woman, and now the Gemara doesn't bring the rest of the pasuk, but let's take a look at the rest of the pasuk in the Torah or Hashalom. On the Hebrew side of the art scroll, on the far left column, there is a second piece over there next to a nice design. It says Torah or Hashalom. That's where he brings all the psukim in its entirety whenever it's mentioned in the Gemara. And so we have in Shemot Chaf Aleph Chaf Bet, the second pasuk brought down, Chinatzu anoshim nogfu ishara, vayitzu yeladeya v'lo ason. Right, and if the child falls out and it wasn't an ason, anoshi anesh kasher yashit alav bal ha'isha v'natam b'flilim. Okay, the mother wasn't killed, but rather the baby, it was caused to be a miscarriage, right? Then you would pay for the money. And if the woman dies from the blow that the other men gave her, then you have to take a soul for a soul. So what do we learn over here? Looking back in our Gemara now. It says that if these two men are fighting and one of them ends up, and they're trying to kill each other, and instead they hit the woman, the pregnant woman, and she dies, it says nefesh tachat nefesh, which means kill him for killing her. So you see, like the Rabbanan, like the Tanakama, that says if you wanted to kill somebody and you ended up killing somebody else, you're still going to be Hayav Mita. Rabbi Shimon, but according to Rabbi Shimon, according to Rabbi Shimon, that he says, no, you're not going to be Hayav Mita. So what does he do with this Nefesh, Tachat Nefesh? What does he do with this pasuk that says a soul for a soul? So the Gemara says, oh, Mamon, it means money. And like it's like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, the redactor of the Mishnah, the Tanya, Rabbi Omer, Benatata Nefesh Tachat Nefesh, Mamon, it means money. Ata Omer Mamon, you say money. Or maybe no. El Nefesh Mamish, maybe it means actual soul. You have to kill them. It says, oh, Nemra Netina Lamata. But Nemra, as we turn on to Daf Ayin Tet Amud Bet, Netina Le Mala, Mala Halom Mamon, Afkan Mamon. So to here is Mamon. What does this mean? So if you go back to those two psukim that we looked at, so in the first pasuk where it says that if the fetus was aborted, right, because of the blow, the fetus got miscarried, whatever, they got aborted, it says Venatan biflilim, and you give them money for the loss of this fetus. And then it says the next pasuk, Venatata nefesh tachat nafesh. And it says again the word Venatata, and this time it says soul for soul. We say, ooh, in the last pasuk, the word venatata meant money. So in the second pasuk, venatata also means money. So therefore, Yehuda Nasi says, when it says nefesh tachat nefesh, it doesn't mean the actual soul. Rather, it means you have to pay with money. Okay, so here we have two shitot. We have so far the Rabbanan, who say that if you plan to kill person A and then killing person B, you're hayab mita. We have shita number B, right? Is if you plan to kill one and you end up killing somebody else, you're potter for mita, but you're still hayab mamon. And that was Rabbi Yehuda Nasi explained in Rabbi Shimon. But now we're going to have another opinion. And this is the opinion that the Rambam brings, halakha ma'aseh. Amar Rava. Remember, Rava is a later authority. So he's explaining the halakha later, which is more developed, so to speak. So we have this following Braita that was taught in the yeshiva of Hiskiah. Mafeka midrabim, mafeka midrabanan. And this Braita does not go like Rebbe and it doesn't go like the Rabbanan. Right? The Rabbanan who said that if you plan to kill one and you kill the other, you still hayam mita. And not like Rebbe who says you plan to kill one and kill the other, then you're not going to be hayam mita, but you're going to be hayam mamon. Not like either one. The Tad of Hiskiah, as it was taught in the yeshiva of Hiskiah, Ma'akeh Adam u'ma'akeh behema. Okay, let's take a look at the pasuk. Go back to the Torah or Hashalom bet on this page. U'ma'akeh behema yishalmena. You hit an animal, you have to pay. U'ma'akeh Adam, you might. And if you kill a person, you are killed. But what do we see over here? In the same pasuk, it compares striking an animal, which is a person's property, to striking a person which is an actual person. So the Gemara makes a diuk and it makes a comparison, a hekesh between them, saying as follows: Ma'akeh adam ma'akeh behema. Ma ma'akeh behema lo halakta ba ben shogeg lemezin, ben mitkaven l'she'enu mitkaven, ben derech yerida l'derech aliyah, lefotro mamon, ele hayavo mamon. He says, the bright of the yeshiva of Hiskiah says, one second, when it comes to a person's property, right, it doesn't make a difference if you damage that person's property by accident, on purpose, going up, going down, you plan to, you didn't plan to. Lamase, if you damage somebody's property, as long as it wasn't completely out of your control, right? But you accidentally hurt someone else's property, you're going to be hayav to pay the money. Doesn't make a difference. You had intention, didn't have intention. Shogeg, mezid, you have to pay for the damage that you've done to the to the property. So what do we see? That it's parallel. That in the case of on purpose versus not on purpose, it's parallel. You hayav for the mammon. So af makeh adam. Now comparing makeh adam to makeh behema, we're going to say the same thing is true when you hit a person. Don't make a difference between you hitting the person by accident or hitting him on purpose. Whether you plan to kill him, you didn't plan to kill him. And it shouldn't make a difference. There should be something that doesn't make a difference, even if it's going upwards or downwards, right? What's the difference in the motion of you going? So Masach Makot tells us that in order to go to Galut, you have to kill that person by accident in a downward motion towards the person. But if you were doing it the other way, it means the motion was going upwards to you and somehow it flew out and hit the person, then you're not going to even be Hayav Galut because it's completely accidental. So, but it said even in this case, it shouldn't make a difference. Mamon. You would think you would have to pay mamon in all those cases. Ela lefotro mamon. Rather, it's coming to teach us that he's patur from pain. So you take a look at the notes. It says it's based note number 8. It's based on the principle of kam le midrabim. That when he has two punishments, you only give him the more severe punishment. The Braita teaches us there's no exceptions to the aforementioned rule. It matters not whether the perpetrator committed the capital crime intentionally or deliberately, in which case he's executed, or whether he acted by accident or unintentionally, in which case he's not executed. In any case, no monetary liability is incurred, right? If it's a capital punishment case, there is no money that needs to be paid. Okay, That's what it's coming to teach us. Um, so, there are no exceptions to the rule of one who commits a capital offense is not liable to pay. That is the teaching. So, it's. Let's do a little more. Mash mitkaven. What does it mean unintentional when it says in the Bible unintentional? If you say that he didn't plan to kill the guy at all, that's a shogeg. He already said shogeg. Ben shogeg the mezid. What's this? Ela pshita, she'em mitkaven lazeh, ela lazeh. And what is this bracket talking about? You planned to kill Ruven, and you ended up killing Shimon. Okay? So, and that's the case, she'em mitkaven. V'katani, v'chayave mamon, you would think maybe you would be chayav mamon. No, ela fatro mamon. V'ibar ketalahu. Now, if it's a case where he was going to be killed, he's chayav mitah, then of course, if chayav mitah, you don't have to pay mamon. It's a so I have to tell him he's going to be patur from mamon. You only get the harsher punishment. Even in a case where he is not hayav mitah, when he's like Rabbi Shimon, he's mitkaven to kill A and he ended up killing B. Even in that case, he's still patur from money. He's not hayav mitah and he's not hayav mamon. So according to this opinion, the way Rava brings it, that if a person planned to kill person A and ended up killing person B, he's not hayav mitah, and he's not even hayav mamon. Okay? He is not hayav any of those. Let's take a look at the Rambam in the halachot pertaining to this sugya so far. Let's go over here. 1 second. All right. He brings the halakha as follows. All right. Okay. If one damages another's property, whether he does so intentionally, unwittingly, or even due to circumstances beyond his control, unless there are circumstances that could not have been anticipated or prevented, it's completely out of his control, then he'd be potter. But any other type of shogeg, he is liable to pay restitution. Doesn't make a difference if shogeg or mezid. If one strikes a pregnant woman and she miscarries and dies, even if he killed her unwittingly, he is exempt from payment. Even if it's b'shogeg, he is exempt from payment. In any case where one commits a transgression punishable by execution, even if he did it b'shogeg, he is exempt from any monetary payment related to the transgression in accordance with the opinion of the Tana of Devei Hiskiya. The halacha is like Rava and the Tana Devei Hiskiya. Patur from Mamon, patur from Mita. Okay, now we move on to the next Mishnah. And the Mishnah deals with an interesting case. It's going to be a little bit confusing in the beginning until we explain the actual case. But let's take a look. Rotzeach shenit arev ba'ahirim. This means you have a murderer, okay, and he got mixed up with others. Meaning, this was the guy who was the murderer. You're supposed to punish him. Before you can punish him, got mixed up with other people, and you can't identify who the murderer is. Either they all look the same, or you don't remember, the witnesses are not there anymore. So in that case, the Gemara says, Kulan Peturin. All of them are Patur. It's very, very, very shocking to say such a thing. You have a murderer, get mixed up with other people, and so everyone goes free now? What about the murderer? Okay, we have to understand this case. We'll understand it shortly. And Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Konsin Otan Lekipa. No, you put them all into a vault. You then only feed them barley until their stomachs burst from being hungry and eating barley, and then they all die there, which is also very, very hard to understand. You're talking about, let's say you have one murderer and 20 kosher people, and you're killing them all? Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Then the Gemara says, then the Mishnah says, let's say you had people that are hayav skila, and you had people who are hayav srifa, right? And they got mixed up with each other. Now you don't know who's supposed to get skila, who's supposed to get srifa. So nidodin bakala, you give everybody the lighter punishment. Meaning, if you're supposed to get skila and srifa, the way we paskin, that srifa is less, you give everybody srifa. Man ahiri. Oh, haniska. So the Mishnah brings an example. Haniskalim and israfin. If those who are supposed to get skila and those who are supposed to get srifa got mixed up, Rabbi Shimon Omer. נידונים בסקילה שהשריפה חמורה. וחכמים אומרים נידון בשריפה שהסקילה חמורה. So it depends on how you hold of the order of the punishment. So we already saw this a while back, that we paskin like the Rabbanan, that say, like we say in the Yom Kippur prayer, sekila, serifa, herig, vahenik, stoning, burning, sword, and strangulation. And that's the order. So if that's the case, and you have sekila and serifa, so you give them serifa. But Rabbi Shimon had a flipped order. He said between sekila and serifa is worst. So in that case, if you learn Rabbi Shimon, and you have skila and serifa mixed together, you would give everybody skila, because skila is the lesser one. Okay? Now, Amr Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon said, I'd give you a proof, and we already saw this proof before. If serifa was not the worst punishment, they would not have given this punishment to a bat kohen who committed zinut. The fact that they gave her that punishment shows that it is the worst punishment. They said to him, they say, 1 second, the opposite. Sekila is more intense of a punishment. Why? Because sekila is used to punish the meradef, the person who curses Hashem, or the person who does avodah zarah, which is really going against the whole Judaism. And the punishment that they give there is sekila. So that proves that sekila is the more powerful punishment. Okay, so again, you give them the lesser punishment, and it depends on what the order you have. The Mishnah makes one more observation. The same thing would be true if you have those who are supposed to be killed with the sword get mixed up with those supposed to be strangled, right? So the way we patkin, when they're about to say the strangulation is the least, so you give them all strangulation. But according to Rabbi Shimon, it is the sword that is the least punishment. So you give them all the sword. And then I give it again. Rabbi Shimon Omer b'sayef, you give them all the sword because that's the lesser punishment. They would have to be killed with chenik. Okay, because chenik is the last one according to the Chachamim. All right, fine. That was the Mishnah. Mishnah was simple enough. I mean, the first part of the Mishnah is still very enigmatic. We're not sure what it means. And that's what the Gemara picks up on. And the Gemara says, Man achem, who are these other people that are getting mixed up with the murderer? Who is these people? Ilema achem kesherim. If you're saying that they're kosher people, then it's obvious that we would say don't kill them. If you have 20, 30 innocent people and one murderer amongst them, you're not going to kill all the people to kill that one murderer. Of course not. But two, and furthermore, can it make any sense if you have 30 kosher people that you're going to point to Rabbi Yehuda, put them all into a vault and kill them all? It doesn't make sense. So we're not sure in this Gemara that says, in this Mishnah that says, if you have a Rotzeach who mixes up with the Achirim, what is this case? So now we have a Siman. Siman Bashrak. Bashrak stands for Rabbi Abahu and Shmuel, and then Ravam, right? Rava, and then Rish Lakish. Okay? So let's take a look as they're going to try to explain what is this case of the Achirim. In fact, the first two opinions are going to be thrown out, but we're going to still learn those cases. We're going to give the psak on those cases, but they're not actually what the Mishnah meant. It's going to be the third opinion that of Ravad. That's going to be how the Mishnah should be understood. So let's take a look. First attempt of resolving the Mishnah of what does it mean Achirim. Ama Rabbi Abahu Amar Shmuel. Hacha berotzeach shlo nigmar dino, shenit arev berotzchim acherim shenigmar dinan askinan. Oh, I know what the case we're dealing with here when it says that the Rotzeach got mixed up. They're holding a case as follows. You have 20 murderers, okay? All of them have already been assigned death penalty. Nigmar dino. They finished the court case. And now you have the 21st guy, okay? And he's supposed to be Nigmar din also. But they didn't get around to of giving him the final verdict. And by the time before they gave him the final verdict, he got mixed up with the other murderers. You have one murderer who did not have his sentence given to him, his punishment given to him, got mixed up with the other ones that already had their sentence given to them. And what's the problem? This Rabban and Savrei ain't going dino shel adam ilafanav hilkach kulam piturim. And the rabbis say, everybody here is potter. Everyone goes home free. Why? Because you cannot give a sentence, a death sentence, unless the guy is in front of you. You cannot be nigmar din. You cannot give the verdict unless the guy is in front of you. And here we don't know who that guy is. And even if you want to bring them all together, no, it has to be known, not just that he's in front of you. You have to know who it's supposed to go to. Right? This is the way some of the Mepashim explain. So therefore, you don't know who he is anymore. You cannot give him the final verdict. Okay, therefore, kulan peturin. Therefore, they're all exempt. This is very, very hard to understand that you will let all these murderers go. Because you just didn't know just the last guy you didn't know. So we're going to see that the Rambam does not hold that they're actually peturin in the case of their pater. The Rambam says, you know what that means, peturin? That means that we can kill them with one of the killings of the Betin. But instead, we're going to put them in a vaulted chamber, okay, in a kippah, and not serve them any food, and give them some barley and make their stomach burst and let them die. But we're not going to kill them with one of the executions of the court. That's the way he understands what it means over here. And just like Rabbi Yehuda, he says, no, we cannot completely exempt them. They cannot go back on the streets. They are rotzchin, and they are terrible people. They are murderers, right? They murdered once, they're going to murder again. We can't have them in society. Therefore, hilkach, konsin otan lekipa. Therefore, we put them into a vaulted chamber, and we give them nothing to eat and then some barley. We make their stomach burst, and they die, and that's the way we get rid of them. Okay? So that's the case of the Mishnah according to Rabbi Abba bar Amar Shmuel, that it's the case of what it means, aherim, it means other murderers. Okay, so the Rabbanan say they're all go potter, and Yehuda says, no, we can't go potter. We have to kill them all in the vaulted chamber. Reish Lakish says, no. But Adam the Kuliyama, lo pligi today. When it comes to people, everyone holds, you let them go free. Right? We have a pasuk, Hetzilu ha'edah. You have to try to save them. Like Rabbi Akiva said, if I had a bedin, no one would ever die because I would be able to. No one would ever be killed because I would always find a way to excuse them. So what is our case? Our case is a different case. B'shor shelo nigmar dino, shenitare b'shavarim acherim, shenigmar dinan kemafligi. We're talking about a case of a shor, an ox who killed somebody. And before they can give the verdict of the ox that is supposed to be killed, he got mixed up with 20 other oxen that already had their verdict given. Another 20 oxen who had their verdict given already. Rabbanan svare kimitat ba'alim. The Rabbanan say, just like the Ba'alim, just like their owners, if they got mixed up, they become potter. So too, kach mitat shor, and so too the mitat of the shor. Ain't going to dino shel shor el b'fanav. Hilkach kulam peturin. Therefore, all the oxes are going to be potter. But if Yehuda Savar, no, he says we can't let these oxen go. They're dangerous oxen. Therefore, konsin otan lakipa. We put them into the sell, and put them into this place, and we let them all die in an indirect measure. Okay, we have a few things to discuss before we can actually move on. All right, before we move on to the final case, two things to discuss. First of all, why are we not using what's called rove? Right? Usually we have a concept that if we don't know what something is, we go with the rove. We go with the majority. So why don't we use the majority? You have one ox or even one person. Okay, let's do with the person first. In the first case, you have one person who didn't do a nigmar din. They didn't say he was hayab mitah, and he mixed up with other 20 people hayab mitah. Should just say rove, kill everybody, because majority of them deserve death. Why don't we say this? So there are two answers. The Maharsha and the Tosafot give an answer that we only go with a rove um, only when it's not a complete lie, right? When it's a vaday sheker, when if you're going to kill somebody who doesn't deserve to be dead, you're doing vaday sheker, you're doing 100% lie, and therefore you cannot go with rove. Another answer is we saw this already last week. Kivan shehem kovim bimkomam, since they're all in their place, they're all kavua. We say anything that's in its place cannot be treated as a rove, rather kemechzal mech, considered 50-50. So there is no rove in any of these cases. Okay, just because of that, this rove doesn't play of an effect in this game. You can't go with the majority over here. Now, why are we, according to Yehuda, who says you have to take all the oxen, right? There's 20 oxen that are hayav mitah, and one who is not nigmar din, just put them all in the kippah and let them die like that. Why don't we just kill them right away? Just kill them all with one long sword. Why we make them go there and make Tarba al Chaim? Don't feed them. Let them die from hunger. Why do we do that? So he says over here. So let's take a look. He says over here. שהטעם כדי שלא יבואו לידי טעות לומר שכן הוא הדין גם בתגובת אנשים. Because if, give me 1 second. If the people got mixed up and they're deserving to be put in the kippah and die, you might think, by the oxen we kill them all right away, so maybe we should kill the people right away. And that's not the din by the people. You would have to let them die on their own after starving them and then feeding them barley and killing them like that indirectly. So therefore, in order to make a hecker, to make this distinction and not to get confused, we do it by the oxen as well. Okay. Now, what is the halacha l'maaseh in these two cases? Although the Mishnah is not going to be explained this way, let's take a look of what would actually be the halacha in these two cases. We'll look at the Rambam, and the Rambam who said as follows. Here we go. A murderer who was intermingled with others. Okay, so first case is the Rambam is saying what happens if they're actually kosher. Okay, if the guy is mixed with kosher people. So you have one guy who's a murderer, and he's mixed with 20 people who are kosher. We don't know who's who. So in the case of a murder whose verdict was issued, who is intermingled with a group of upstanding individuals, all are exempt from punishment. Okay, so in the case of kasherim, which the Gemara said, of course, that's pashut. Obviously, you're not going to kill all 20 people because one guy deserves to be killed, right? So that's the halakha over there. Now, what happens as follows. Let's take a look at our case. In the case of a murderer whose verdict was not finalized, this is the case of Rabbi Abahu, Amar Shmuel, right? So the one guy who did not have his nigmar din, who is intermingled with murderers whose verdicts were finalized. Okay, so he didn't have it finalized yet, and it has to be done in front of him, and he can't do it in front of because we don't know who he is. So, and they got mixed up with other murderers. All are exempt from execution because a person's verdict can be finalized only in his presence. But, says the Rambam, they are all incarcerated. They are all put into this vault, and then they're starved, fed some barley, and then they all die. Okay? That's what he says. Now, what about this other case? If an ox that killed a person and its verdict was not finalized, was intermingled with other oxen, right? Other oxen, none are executed, as the verdict of the ox is finalized only in its presence, in accordance with the opinions of the rabbis and Rish Lakish. Meaning, if you have one ox that is Hayav Mitah, got mixed up with other oxen that are not Hayav Mitah, okay? So then all of them are going to be Patur, because you're not going to kill, because he never had his Nigmar Din. He never was punished, and you don't know who he is now. You need him to be in front, and since he's not there, he's not Hayav Mitah. Okay? Fine. So that are the cases up until now. So the case that we saw was slightly different. Was that when the ox did not have Nigmar Din, and he got mixed up with others that already had the Nigmar Din, and we say Konsin Otan Lekipa. Okay? Right. But if the ox was mixed with a bunch of oxen that weren't, so then we don't kill them. Okay, fine. Amarava. Now we're going to actually explain the Gemara according to Rava, the actual Mishnah. Ihachi. If this is the case, the way you guys are explaining it, how do you explain this now? We have a Braita regarding this Mishnah, where the Mishnah said, Achirim, and Amar Yossi, who is this Achirim? Afilu Abba Chalafta Benehen. It means, even if it was my father, Chalafta. Okay? Even if he was there, that's what it means, Achirim. What does that mean? That Chalafta was someone who is a murderer, just didn't have a Nigmar Din? Cannot be. Before we move on to the Gemara, we have an issue here. Can Rabbi Yossi call his father Abba Chalafta? He's calling his father's name. So they bring a beer gra for the Vilna Gaon, who said, Shafa Pisha Asul Adam Nikola Vivishmo, even though you're not to call your father by his name, Ach Imosev Toar Abba, but if you say the word Abba and then you say your father's name, it's mutar. That's like you're allowed to call your Rebbe's name. If you say Rebbe or Mari, you do the same thing to your father. Said Abba. But there are those who argue, and there are those who want to say that Rabbi Yossi never called his father Abba Chalafta in front of people. He said Abba, and then when they repeated the teaching, they said Rabbi Yossi's father, who is Chalafta. And so it came into the Gemara as Abba Chalafta, but it's not the way Rabbi Yossi actually said. Okay, regardless, he said Achirim is his father. How do you explain this case? Cannot say his father is someone who didn't have a Nigmar Din. שניים שהיו עומדים ויצא חץ מביניהם והרג, שניהם פטורים. אמר רבי יוסי, אפילו אבא חלפת ביניהם. Oh, you want to know the case of the Mishnah? This is the way the Mishnah, the first line of the Mishnah is explained. What does it mean, ahirim? And the kulanu keshirim, and everybody is patur. What's his case? Case is a bunch of people standing, all next to each other. And then an arrow is shot, bullet, whatever it is, shot from their area to the other side and kill somebody. But nobody knows where the bullet came from. Nobody knows where the arrow came from. Okay? In this case, you can't punish anybody because you don't know who it came from. And even if there's just two people, and one of them is Rabbi Yossi's father, the great sage Chalafta, even in such a case, everyone would look, if you have the biggest tzaddik and the other guy somebody else, you would think it's the other guy, right? And not the tzaddik. Even in such a case, we would not say that, and we would say they're both patur because we don't know for certain who sent it. That is the case, right? That's how you explain the Mishnah according to this. If he's mixed up with other people, you don't know who shot it. So what do you do with Rabbi Yehuda now? Yehuda says you put them in the kippah. Oh, that's talking about a different case. V'shor shenigmara dino shenitare b'shvarin acherim ma'alia. If an ox whose verdict was finalized, they say he's supposed to be chayav mitah, and he became intermingled with other innocent oxen. Okay, this is one you're supposed to kill, one you're supposed to kill, that mixed up with 100 or even 1,000 other oxen. According to the Chachamim, so clean otan, you kill them all. One ox is supposed to be killed, and it's mixed with 1,000 other. According to the Chachamim, you kill all 1,000. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, konsin oton kippah. You put them all into the vault, all into this place. You don't feed them, and you let them die. That's the case. So now, let's take a look at the Rambam on this case, and we have to explain it. Chachamim said one ox is chayav mitah. It's mixed up with 1,000 other oxen that are not chayav mitah. They're innocent. You kill all of them. How does that work? So let's take a look. Okay. If a group of people sat together and an arrow emerged from their midst and killed a person, they're all exempt. We saw this already. Now, here's the case we just dealt with. In the case of an ox whose verdict was finalized, and thereafter it was intermingled with even 1,000 other oxen, all the oxen are stoned and buried, and deriving benefit from any of them is forbidden, as this is the halacha with regard to an ox that is stoned. Okay, so the Rambam says one guilty ox amongst 1,000 innocent oxen, every one of them has to be stoned and buried. Isser hana. Why is that? Since the prohibition takes effect on one of the oxen, and what's an ox? An ox is an item that cannot be batel. We have, when you come to the dins of bittul, when you come to the din of bittul, there's a certain dinim that bittul doesn't work. One of them is called a davar shebiminyan, something that is counted by piece. An ox is a davar chosher that's counted by piece. For example, in the laws of kashrut, if you have one egg that is a tomei egg, it's a non-kosher egg, and it falls into a jar of 1,000 other kosher eggs, all those eggs are now not kosher. Why? Because eggs are sold by piece, not by weight. They're sold by piece. When something is sold by piece, right, we say it is not batel. It doesn't nullify a filu ba'elef, even in 1,000. Therefore, all those eggs are non-kosher. Same thing here with this ox. Even though this ox fell into a mixture of 1,000 other oxen, it's a davar chashiv. It's an important thing. A davar sheminyan, something that's sold by a minyan, by the piece, and as such, it cannot be nullified, and therefore, all of them have to be killed. All of them have to be killed because they cannot be nullified. Okay, that is the halacha. All right, good. Let's move on to our next cases. V'hatanya, and it was taught in the Braita. Para shehemita v'achar kach yelada. Okay, there's this ox that killed a person and then gave birth to a baby. So the Gemara says, Im mardina yaldan, if the cow gave birth before her verdict was finalized, they didn't say she was chayav mitah, vlada mutar. Then the vlad is mutar. The baby is mutar because she gave birth when she was still mutar. There was no isra on her. Im mardina yaldan, if she gave birth once she was already asur, meaning they said that she is chayav mitah, vlada asur, then her baby also is asur. If it mixed with others, and others with others, you got double mixed, even though we usually say sveika. a double doubt is okay, there is an opinion that double doubt is not okay. So according to that opinion, you put them all into a vault and you let them die. You bring all of them in front of the court and you stone them. And that's exactly the machoket in our Mishnah. According to one opinion, you would come and you would kill them all, right? So clean otan, and that's what we pass them, like the rabbis, even if there's one mixed in 1,000. And according to the other opinion, Rabbi Yehuda, is that you just put them in a kippah and you put them in a place and let them all die. Um, but we see it's the same machloket. Very good. But now comes to this case. Amar, 1 second. You said as long as they didn't get the nigmar din and say that this cow is usher, lada mutered, then the baby will be mutar. But why? If she was pregnant with this baby cow when she gored, it should be usher. But Amar Rava, because Rava said, Vlad hanugahat asur. The baby of a cow that gored is asur. Ki uvada nekhu. Because when she gored and she was pregnant with the baby, it's as if the baby and the mother both gored the person, and therefore it's going to be usur. Vlad hinarbat asur. If someone committed bestiality to the animal while she was pregnant with the baby, both of them are considered sodomized, and you cannot use them for the korban. Ema. So how could you explain in our case that if she gave birth before the verdict was given, it's mutar? Oh, you know what the case is? Ema. Ema chelo nigmar dinam ibara ve'alda v'ada mutar. The case is that she got pregnant after she killed the person, and she gave birth before the nigmar din. So that whole time she was mutar. The baby was never there when she hit the person, and she gave birth before they made her asur. Therefore, the baby, cow, is mutar. And now the other case, if they say that she's asur, okay, and then she got pregnant, and then she gave birth, bladat asur. So you're supposed to kill her. They didn't kill her, and she ends up getting pregnant and giving birth. Bladat asur. Gemara said, this is good according to the opinion that says when you have two things, Isser and Heter, it's Asr, right? So here you have the mother. The mother is Asr, but the mother, in order to have a baby, has to have a father involved as well. And the male cow the male bull is Mutar. So you have the mother who's Isur, and the male, right, who's providing the seed, he is Mutar. You have Isser and Mutar. So according to the opinion, the Zev Vezeh Gorem Asur, it makes sense to be Asur. But we don't paskin like that. Lamanda Amar, Zev Vezeh Gorem Mutar, on 80B, Pei Amud Bet. But according to the opinion, it says Zev Vezeh Gorem Mutar. You have two things that cause something to happen. One is Asur, one is Mutar. It's going to be Mutar. Ma Memar. The father is Mutar. The father is Heter. The father is not Isur, right? So why will we say that this case would be Asur? That if she gave birth, got pregnant and gave birth after she had the Nigmar Din? If she gave birth after she hit and before she had the Nigmar Din, she got pregnant and gave birth, then it's Mutar. But if she got pregnant when before the Nigmar Din, when it was Mutar, when she was Heter and the father was Heter. So they're both Heter. But after she gave birth after the sentence. So what happens? The Vlada is Asur. Why? Since this fetus was inside the mother, at the time the mother became Asur, so it's an extension of the mother. Since the fetus existed inside the mother when she became Asur, that fetus became Asur. It's not that there is a heter that got mixed with Isser and now they're both together. No, it's completely Asur because it was already part of the mother when she was made, to be Asur. That's why, in this case, the Vlada would be atur. That's where um, we'll just review the case with the Rambam, and then we move on from there. In the case of a cow that brought a person to death and thereafter was impregnated, the calf is born before the verdict was finalized, the calf is permitted. If the calf is born after the verdict was finalized, the calf is forbidden like the cow, as the legal status of the fetus is like that of the thigh of the mother. If the calf was intermingled with others, they are all placed in a vaulted chamber until they die there, in accordance with the ruling of the Braita. Okay, so exactly as we learned the sugya. Okay, and we'll stop here for today. תודה רבה לכולם. ביי,